Hey everybody, here are our notes on the distributive property. So in order to solve equations, one of the things we need to know how to do is how to distribute. So here we're going to be talking about what does it mean to distribute. So before we even get started, we are going to go ahead and draw some tiles. I'm going to draw some unit tiles, so that means I'm going to draw a little, not that. I'm going to draw a little square, hold it. And then I'm going to go ahead and shade that in. And that's going to be a positive unit tile. I'm going to duplicate that. If you don't know how to duplicate, I'm going to just go ahead and take my scissors, circle around it, and then click on duplicate. Click on it and click duplicate. And the reason why I duplicate is so I could erase my highlight. So there's a positive and negative tile here. I'm going to go ahead and draw an X tile. So X, I forget what color they were, honestly. Actually, all of this should be dark blue. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to go ahead and draw an X tile. Come on. Doesn't like me. Try again. X tile. There you go. Call that X. Shade that in. Oh. Let's go ahead and make this a little bit narrower. There you go. Not as thick. Shade it in. And then I'm going to duplicate this whole thing. Erase the shade. To erase the shade, all you do is erase. Oops, that's not erase. Take your eraser and erase the shaded part. Okay, and I think that's all I'm going to need. X's and unit tiles. As I look through here, just to make sure. Yep, there's no Y tiles. So here, this is all I need. Some unit tiles and some X tiles, okay? So I'm going to be using this today in my notes. Now that we drew some tiles, we're going to use this and we're going to duplicate this whenever we need it. All right, so here. Now that we have that, we're going to talk about the basics. So what does 2 parentheses 5 mean? And so here it's just 2 groups of 5, right? It's saying 2 times 5. And we could also think of this as 2 groups of 5. So this is a number of groups. The 2 right here. And what's inside the groups? It's going to be inside the parentheses. So right here, 2 times 5 is 2 groups of 5. And so we could think of it as 2 groups of inside there's going to be 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 5 of these. I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to make 5, 2, 3, 4, oops, 4, duplicate, 5. So here's one group of 5, right? So this is what's inside the groups. But how many groups are there? Right here, right? It's 2 times 5, so 2 groups of 5. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this whole entire thing. And it's saying I have 1 group right here and 2 groups right here. So 2 groups of 5 means 2 times 10. Sorry, 2 times 5, which gets us a total of 10 unit tiles. And hopefully you're able to say 2 times 5 equals 10. Okay? So that's the basics. If we understand that, that's going to help us understand the distributive property. So the distributive property, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and draw. So the current topic right now is what is the meaning of this. Sorry, that confused me when I read that. What we're doing is we're talking about the distributive property. And so what is the meaning of the expression 2 and then in parentheses x plus 5, right? So here we're going to go ahead and draw a diagram that represents 2 groups, right? So this is the number of groups. Number of groups right here. And whatever's inside the parentheses that's what is inside a group. That's whatever's inside the parentheses. So we're going to need two groups of x plus 5. Now, I'm going to go ahead and copy the x tile. So here's 1, right? Maybe that was a mistake using pink there, whatever. Actually, I'm going to change that right now. I'm going to change the x tiles to, let's just use purple. Or orange. That's what I've been doing. I'm going to change this to orange. Okay. So I have an x tile, and then, so in this group, I have x, and I need to draw plus 5. Now, luckily, I already did plus 5 right here. I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that and bring that down here to save us some time. So in the parentheses, I have x plus 5. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create two groups of this. So I need two of this. So this is my first group. I'm going to need a second group. So the duplicating function here is going to be very useful. I'm going to duplicate this. And now I have two groups of x plus 5. Now, what do I have in total, right? So it's similar to this, right? I had two groups of 5. Here I have two groups of x plus 5. And so what do I have, right? What's my end? I'll just keep using pink. So I have two x tiles, right? I have one x tile here and two x tiles here. So I have 2x plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 unit tiles. So here, if I look at my drawing, I'm able to say that I have 2 x tiles and 10 unit tiles if I drew out two groups of x plus 5. So hopefully this is a good diagram to help you understand what does it mean when we have a number outside a parentheses. And so we're able to use the distributive property. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you using multiplication, how do we solve the distributive property. So here, I'm going to take this 2, the number of groups, and I'm going to multiply by everything that's inside. All right. So here I have 2 x's, right? So 2 times x is 2 times x plus 2 times 5. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the number of groups, the number outside the parentheses, and there can be potentially a negative number in front, but right now it is not. So I'm going to take this 2 and I'm distributing it, and I'm going to use the concept of multiplication, right? And multiply, say at 2 times x and 2 times 5. So 2 times x is 2x and 2 times 5 is plus 10. Now notice that it is right here a plus sign. And the number in front, like I said, can be a negative, but right now it's positive. So it's a positive 2 times a positive 5, which is plus 10. Okay? So that's just using multiplication to explain the distributive property. So I'm going to do a couple more examples where we draw diagrams, and hopefully you're able to see, oh, that's what it means, right? So here we have 3 groups. So that means we're going to need 3 different, this is the number of groups. And inside that group, what's inside each group is going to be 2x minus 4. So I'm going to go ahead and go up here. We'll get 2 x's. I'm going to duplicate this. I'll zoom out. Okay, 2. So I need one of this. Inside one group, I have 2x. Oh, and look, it's going to be minus 4. So I'm going to go ahead and go back up here. Duplicate this. Zoom out. Bring that down. 2x. And I need 4 negative unit tiles. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. So inside each of these groups, we have 2x, 2 positive x tiles, minus 4. And so there's my first group. I need a second and third group. So I'm going to take the scissors again. I've been doing a lot of duplicating this assignment. If you're using paper, you're going to have to draw all of this out, which is a bummer. Which is why I tell you that notability is helpful. But I get it. It's hard to do it with one screen. So there we go. We have 3 groups. 1, 2, 3 groups of 2x minus 4. Now what do I have in total? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 x's. So I'm going to go ahead and put 6x. Erase that so you don't get confused by the numbers. And then I have minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, minus 6, minus 7, minus 8, minus 9, minus 10, minus 11, minus 12. So 6x minus 12 is my answer. If I go ahead and count these. All right, and now I'm going to show you how can I do this without drawing this, and how can I use it, simplify using just multiplication. So I'm going to take this number, this 2, okay? Oh, and I do this in pink, yeah. I'm going to take this number and I'm going to distribute it, and I'm going to multiply it to both terms inside. Kind of like combine like terms, right? 2x is a term and negative 4 is a term. If I were to highlight this, yeah, it'd be like that. Okay, so I'm going to multiply to each of the terms. 3 times 2, positive 2, right, is 6x. And then 3 times the negative 4 is minus 12. Please do not forget that you include the sign in front, just like we do when we combine like terms. So it's going to be 3 times negative 4. If you forget, it's a negative, negative, positive. So I have a negative times a positive. So our answer is going to be negative. So we get negative 12. 6x minus 12 is our answer. So the distributive property, we're going to take our first number outside the parentheses and multiply it by all the terms inside. Okay? So here are some examples. I'm going to go over them really quickly. All right? Here is a negative. This looks familiar, right? This tells us we have opposite land. Right? And I'm going to tell you right now that this is a negative 1. Okay? So there's an invisible 1 right here. You just never knew. Okay? And so whenever we multiply a negative times a negative, and it's times 1, anything times 1 is itself, right? So it's going to take the form of the opposite of everything inside. So a negative times a negative is a positive 5x, and a negative 1 times a positive 16 is negative 16. So hopefully this isn't confusing you. This is basically opposite land, right? But the concept is we're multiplying the number outside, okay? Here we have a 5, and we're going to multiply it by 8x and negative 11. Please do not forget the negative 11, okay? So 5 times 8 is 40x, and 5 times negative 11 is minus 55, negative 55. Okay, do not forget to include the negative, please. All right, let's keep going right here. This is our first problem where we have a negative and a number in front. So far we've had either a negative by itself, right, just opposite land, or else we had a number in front. So these two things are what we've seen so far, but what if we have a negative and a number together, right? That means we're going to multiply negative 6 by everything inside, okay? Negative 6 times positive 2 is negative 12x. Negative 6 times negative 8. A negative times a negative gets us a positive, right? Negative times a negative gets us a positive. So it's going to be plus, and 6 times 8, 48. Ooh, here, now we're getting to simplifying, right? But we have a distributing, so I'm going to have us focus right here. We'll combine this later, so do not worry about this quite yet, okay? Ignore that for now. But we need to distribute, so we're going to focus on the distributing right now. It's a positive 3 times a negative 7x. So it's saying there are 3 groups of negative 7x plus 10, right? And if I want to draw this out, that's a lot, right? I don't want to draw 7 negative x's and 10 unit tiles and do 3 of those. That's not fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply, right? So 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. And don't forget the x, right? Because negative 3 times negative 3 groups, and it's positive 3. 3 groups of negative 7 x's, right? So there's going to be negative 21 x's. And then 3 groups of positive 10 is plus 30. There's going to be 3 groups of 10. 10, 10, 10, 30. So after I distribute, all I need to do is keep the 2 on the x. And then now I just combine like terms. I'll do orange. 20x minus 21x is negative x plus 30. And right here, all we're asked to do is simplify. So here we go, combine like terms. Okay, we're not solving here, we're just asked to simplify. Here, we have opposite land, and remember it's just a negative 1. So the opposite is negative 9x minus 15. Oh, what happened? 15. And then I'm going to copy the rest in purple just because I did that last problem. Plus 16 minus x. And then here I'm just going to combine like terms. Negative 9x minus x. I'm going to get negative 10x. And then let's take this and go. Negative 15 plus 16 is plus 1. So there's our answer. Here's our last one. We need to distribute. Okay, so we're going to take this negative 2 and distribute it. Now we're going to distribute it to 3 different terms, which is fine. Okay, just remember to multiply each one. So negative 2 times positive 3. I'm just going to draw this right here. Negative times a negative is a positive. But right here we have a negative times a positive. So a negative times a positive ends up a negative. So I'm going to end up with negative 6. Next, we have a negative 2 times a negative 6x. Negative times a negative is a positive. So I'm going to end up with plus 6 times 2 is 12. And this last one, erase the highlights. Negative times a negative. Negative times a negative is a positive. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 10. And now I'm going to go ahead and copy the rest. Plus 6x minus 10. Let's go ahead and combine like terms. Negative 6 plus 10 minus 10. And then we have 12x plus 6x. So in total, how many x's do we have? We have 18x. And then we have plus 6. 6 minus, oops, oh no, I messed up. It's not plus 6. We have plus 10 minus 10, so those two cancel each other. They're creating zeros basically. So we just end up with minus 6. 18x minus 6, okay? So here, that's the distributive property. I'm gonna go over it really quick one more time. This one I'm gonna leave for you as a challenge, okay? If you feel comfortable doing this, please try this problem. Post it, I'll give you guys some points. But basically, we talked about what is the meaning of multiplication, right? 2 times 5 with the parentheses, and it's saying 2 groups of 5. And with that concept, we're like, okay, then what does it mean where it says 2 groups of x plus 5? And so we're able to draw that, and it means there's going to end up becoming 2 x's and plus 10. And so when there's 2 groups of x plus 5, we did 1 group here, 2 groups here, and we're able to count. And at the end of the day, we can multiply. So right here, the concept I want you to be able to do is take a number in front of a parentheses and always distribute, right? So take the 2 and multiply it to both terms. You need to understand what a term is, right? Think of combined like terms, okay? All right, so hopefully this will help you as you solve equations, because the first step is going to be to distribute the parentheses. All right. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.